What's up, everybody? It's your boy Kendall, and we are here on day 30 of 100 Days of Codes. Day 30, the big 3-0. We have made it. We've made it to the top, but not the top just yet. We're getting closer. We're edging up that mountaintop. So it's day 30 of 100 Days of Code, and we're on week 5 of School of Codes, the most amazing boot camp in the entire universe. And uh, we're on day 2 of week 5 of the boot camp, and we've been looking at sort of Postgres uh, SQL. We've been looking at sort of relational databases, that sort of thing. We've been looking at a lot of cool stuff. So obviously today, what have we been up to? We've been up to lots of cool things. I mean, first off, had my second day with my awesome partner Eds. We had lots of fun sort of working things out. So we began the day with a little bit of sort of code wars and working out a few problems. We did monkey count, I think it was. So we did a few different sort of code wars things, solved a couple of those, and did our normal mandatory squats in the morning. So we squatted it out. Then we did the gratitude wall, and there were a lot of people thankful for lots of things, like Natalie Portman's arm, which was a great shout. Um, it was really funny. Just people can put up random things that they're grateful for. Um, Lots of things to be grateful for sure. So that was fun. Squats, gratitude wall. We did some code wars, did a little bit of problem solving, hone those problem solving skills, which we're always trying to learn more of to like break things down and to solve problems better, to become a better, effective problem solvers in the syntax. That's the easy part, right? What else did we do? We looked at some more Postgres SQL, and we looked at things like, let me see. We were taking a look at sort of creating tables in the schema of SQL. So, sort of doing the creating table. So, for example, one called users, um, using something called int primary key generator always as identity, so that you can't like basically you can do this thing in SQL where you can make it where you can't fiddle with the ID to make it wrong or make it corrupted or make it go. It gives you a bit of a safety net. So that was super cool to learn as well. Those sort of things. We learned about sort of deleting from users, so how to delete users from a table and where you would go, and using things like select and where you would do that from. So it was super cool. We looked at some of the data types that you can use in SQL. We also took a look at a little bit more at sort of inserting into users into tables and making new tables and what that all involves. And sort of we talked about sort of how it's a little bit like having like a filing cabinet would sort of be like maybe one part of it, and you might have these different files and you might file them away. You might have different users, and these are like sort of the filing cabinet is one, the files are one, and then the users are one, and they might be different tables in your SQL sort of equation, right? And so we were talking about sort of what that might look like, how to join those different bits together, because you can't have one without the other. So you've got to be able to have the filing cabinet so you can access the files. But then you can have the users who can grab the files. And so they all sort of are relational with one another. And we're given an example of like an NHS sort of database where you might have to go to a filing cabinet and look for something. You have to have people going and grabbing the file. Well, the file is another part, and then you got to get it from the filing cabinet and that sort of thing. And we got an example from sort of Excel spreadsheets to see what that looked like, where you might have little tabs and one might say one thing and one might say another and one might say another. And you might have 3 different spreadsheets. And that's a bit like having the tables that you might have an array. We talked about using a join is much quicker. Join is the term that you use in SQL or in Postgres SQL. Using a join is much quicker and more efficient than doing 2 separate queries. So rather than doing one on one database and one on another as 2 separate queries, you join the two together and you can do it that way. We talked about sort of normalization and how that allows us to keep data redundancy low so that we can decrease the amount of data anomalies in our application when we delete or update our records. So there's like consistency. We looked at, I want to say they're called EDRs. I want to say they're called. Oh gosh, I can't remember. Basically, there's these you have these sort of diagrams, I guess you were. The exact name is escaping me right now, but basically you get these sort of diagrams, and they create diagrams of the tables. It's like a map to show you what's in each table. So if you have 3 databases, for example, you may have one called users, one called posts, and one called comments, for example, like on a blog. And inside of each table, so for example, in users, you might have user ID, you might have integer, you might have first name, last name. In the post table, you might have things like post ID, author, content, content ID. Inside the comments, you might have comment ID, you may have post ID, you may have author, things like that. So you have different things in each one, and you might have things that sort of join them together. Well, in these diagrams, it shows you what's in each one and gives you sort of a roadmap. It's a way of either planning database or being able to refer to a table or a picture or a diagram, so you can actually see what's in these databases that you made on Postgres SQL, which is pretty cool. And you have different ways of joining. So we spoke about today sort of the different ways you can join. So you have, for example, an inner join, and that might be we have table A and table B, and in maybe let's say those 2 circles that cross over one another. Well, the middle bit, the bits that they share, will then be shown in the table. So you would do an inner join of these 2 different tables, and that would look something like inner join posts on users and then user ID, and the user ID would be sort of you would say it equals this, and there might be sort of a bridge between the 2, and then you would see everything they share. There's also left join, where basically you get all the stuff in the left table and also the stuff they share. And you might get as well a right join or a right outer join, where you get everything that's in the right table, but you also might get the stuff that they share as well in common. So lots of cool stuff, and there's a full join where they share everything from each other. So that was really cool. Then we spent some time sort of looking at sort of SQL, trying to think of the name of the site again. It's basically a practice website where you can spend some time practicing SQL, which was super cool. And it was, let me see if I can find the name of the site. Oh yeah, SQL Bolt. SQL Bolt. Really cool site where it shows you in live time. It'll give you different databases, and you can see in live time and practice your SQL knowledge. And so that's SQL Bolt. We use that, and there was also a murder mystery we could have gotten to as well. But basically, me and my partner, we just went methodically through all these different things, and we learned a lot together. It was a bit like Code Wars, but for SQL, so we were like problem solving and trying to work out and breaking things down. So we had a lot of fun today. Honestly, it was tough at times to try and figure out what was going on, but you know what? That is the best way to learn. Had a really good meeting with my enablement coach, so that was cool too. They're the ones who sort of give us feedback on how things are going and sort of the feedback from others and ways we can improve. So fortunately, the only thing I could improve, I'm doing really well, thankfully. So I'm really grateful for that. The only thing we need to do is get some feedback forms in. Whoops. But all in all, good day of day 30 of 100 Days of Code. Thoughts and feelings. I'm loving it. I'm having fun. Having the time of my life. And we're going to keep it going. So guys, until next time, day 30, Kendall signing out. Check you later, guys.